In this video, I will be reviewing Degrader from Klevgrand. Klevgrand was kind enough to send me a license and asked me to review their brand new bit crusher / saturation / resampler plugin, and I figured I'd never really talked about products like these, so sure. Well, Degrader has a good variety of options. We can choose pre and post filters. So on the left, it's flat. And this one we have, they call it a low Q or low bandwidth. Basically, it's the difference between a high pass filter that's gradual. So let's say something like this versus one that's more like this. Or actually more like maybe even higher than that. But anyway, it's a lower quality high pass filter. I would call it lower quality, but it's a sharper bandwidth. So it's got more distortion, more ripple, whatever you want to call it. And then down here we have jitter, which I'm not really hearing what it does. It's very subtle. I know it has to do with timings and distortion and, but I'm not really hearing it, but it does help simulate old school analog to digital converters. And then next up is sample rate. Now you got to be careful because when you have the filters selected, it will by default start rounding off at half of whatever this is. And by default, I don't know if, I'm not sure about higher sample rate projects, but by default, this is at that setting right there, which means that it's going to be cutting your audio at around 12 kilohertz. All right, let me undo that. And then next up is the bit depth. It goes from 3 bits, which is just nasty, all the way up to 24 bits. And then we have saturation. I would say that it is characteristic of slamming an analog to digital converter, but it's definitely an analog type of saturation, not digital, which I kind of wish they would have put a digital saturation module in here, but maybe in the next version, right? And by that, I mean a lower integer bit depth, slamming that, because that's one thing I like to do occasionally, but I'm not complaining. Trust me. This is a cool plugin regardless. Finally, we have the very handy input, output, and mix knobs. To round the package off, a pop-free bypass power button, and then we have a plethora of different presets to choose from. Also, this cool little visual display. This doesn't really do much other than, it gives you something to look at while you're modifying things. Oh, that's right. It doesn't do anything on that one. But anyway, let's take a listen to what it does. All right. So I'm going to make everything maximum quality and then start screwing with things. All right. I forgot to mention, sorry, there are actually link buttons. So you choose that and the controls are all linked together. That's helpful, particularly when doing automation. All right, so now I got to reset everything. All right, sorry about that. I should mention that on the mix bus, I have a high pass filter. By the way, this is the brand new version of IIEQ Pro. It looks cool. Congratulations on that. And also ozone, just to make sure that there is no overs. All right, going back to track 1. So that's the bit depth. Now let's listen to the sample rate. Flat, and I will mess with these while the song's playing. No jitter.
There's a man in rags and he begs for change in a caffeine morning subway, while a princess flows in expensive clothes, but her eyes ain't good. I'll find the fortune no one really needs on a New York Monday. We'll walk with haste as the guitar.
Nasty, right? All right, now for saturation, I'd actually rather do this on the vocal. And I'll just put these all back to the default. I had these set up, but... All right, so saturation all by itself. I'll slowly crank it up.
As we turn another page, keep your pockets full of change. There's a brand new day to ride into. Beyond the clouds of gray, where the silver linings fade, all the signs align to lead us through. The autumn leaves look.
Now this is where I would recommend, possibly for like heavy metal vocals or something along those lines, you kind of distort it and then you just blend it in with the mix knob.
As we turn another page, keep your pockets full of change. There's a brand new day to ride into. Beyond the clouds of gray, where the silver linings fade, all the signs.
And that might help it to cut through a little bit, or there might be a section of a song where that would sound cool, or maybe during the chorus, something like that. Doing the lo-fi automation thing is something that you'll hear a lot in pop music, electronic music, even in some rock songs. One example is the Shinedown song called If You Only Knew. It starts off with like a lo-fi drum, reverb and all that stuff at the very beginning. And I know that during song bridges, during the breakdown part, in different rock songs, they'll do that. I think that's Chris Lord Alge doing that. Maybe the producer does that. I don't know. But I've noticed it. And it just breaks up the monotony of songs just for a little bit of time. So, what do I think about this plugin? First of all, I think it's very easy to use. But it does have its flaws. Number one, it is not 4K ready. As far as I know, I cannot make this rescaled. So, like, these letters are tiny. Not that I really need to see them per se, but if you're going to put letters on a plugin, it makes sense for them to be visually appealing. That said, the knobs are nice and big. I mean, they're not huge, but they're big enough. And also I can read the presets for the most part. It's a little bit hard to read when they're dark, but once they're lighter, you can read that. And the fact that it has a preset menu is very helpful in general. It's also zero latency, which is nice. It also takes up very little CPU. That's always a plus. Right now, it is quite affordable at $20. I do believe that price will go up to $40 starting on October 1st, which is why I made this video, because I already missed a few discount prices on upcoming plugins that I'm reviewing, and I didn't want to miss out on getting the information to you guys on this one. The other thing I'm not a fan of is there's no output meter If there's going to be an input meter, there should be an output meter. Just an opinion, especially when you have an output knob. And then also VST3 is not supported right now. Not a big deal, but I am starting to gravitate more towards VST3 plugins. And also there's that whole thing with Steinberg that's going on next month. So, I mean, it's not like a huge deal, but I would say the biggest problem is that the GUI cannot be scaled. But honestly, that's nitpicking. This plugin does what it says it does. It does it nicely. It gives you options. And just in general, it's a useful plugin. I'll be using it probably at some point just to, knock my sample qualities down. That's the other thing. If you have sample libraries, let's say you have a nice sounding, guitar, nice sounding piano, and you want it to sound just a little bit worse or maybe a lot of bit worse, you can do that with a plugin like this. And this one fits a bunch of features that lo-fi heads. Is lo-fi file a thing? I don't know. If you're into making your audio sound worse, this is a good plugin if you don't already own one. Or even if you do, maybe this one sounds different than what you already have. So I would check the demo out, and if you like it, buy it. If not, then don't. This has been Adam for RealHomeRecording.com.